All right, folks, we're in another episode of the Modern Coach series. This time we have Francheska Martinez. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, everybody.
Yes. Hello, all of our trusty listeners. Yo, yeah, appreciate you coming on. This is one that I've been looking forward to a ton. I've got to hang out a bunch the last couple months. We've had many hours of long conversations, never to do with fitness. And I think if that's the vibe today, so be it. We're always having a good time, so let's keep it there.
I like it.
I want to get straight into it. And I think that the thing I want to talk to you about, like, as we talked about offline, there's a lot of talk of hard work in the space. And I think people understand the work ethic required to be successful here.
hmm
I like the way that you talk about the emotional state required to be successful, or just the emotional state required to exist as a professional in the industry, whether or not it's leading to success at that given moment. So to kick things off, like, what gets you the most excited about coaching?
Honestly, the most exciting thing about coaching, it's like really seeing people light up when they're like unlocking new parts of their body and like connecting to themselves deeper. I'm all about like great results and, performance, but I'm really into like the human side of training. Like some people that I like come to me, they'll have uh, a herniation that's kept them from strength training or from performing or like living the life that they want. So when they start like tuning into their body and being like, wow, like I could make it past these limitations, like that to me is like my true freaking joy. Like I just like making people feel better. Like it doesn't matter in what capacity, like I want to get people to the next level. And I feel like in fitness, we get so caught up with like performance and aesthetics that I feel like a lot of times we forget, like a lot of people just want to feel better in their bodies. Like whether that's like emotionally and physically, like those are so intertwined.
Is there can I ask you to therapy out here real quick?
Go for it.
Do you know why, or could you like guess as to why like you that gets you specifically excited? Is there a personal story that you could share?
Yeah, I really connect to it. Like when I first started, before I even got into fitness professionally, I was like a big hobbyist. So I studied exercise sports science. I went like the very traditional route. I never thought about pursuing fitness professionally. But then like I kind of started struggling with my body. Like I had a desk job and like I honestly like got super kind of like down for a while. And then I was still trying to focus on my health and my wellness. Like I was like really dialed into my nutrition. Like I was like the nutrition person at my job. But then I stopped strength training like completely. Like I was just kind of like depleted emotionally. And then I was doing yoga, but like it wasn't enough for my body. So I started getting like horrible back issues. I have scoliosis. So for me, I'm the type of body type, like if I don't strength train, I'm gonna fall apart. So my back started bugging me. I started having issues with my scapula and my shoulders and just sitting all day. Like it was just doing worse for my body than anything. So I realized that like my body getting worse like really affected my mood. It wasn't the other way around. Like yes, it was my mood affecting my body, but I really felt that like my body, that was what took the forefront on like me not feeling well. Like obviously for sure like my mind could have been a little bit better, but once I felt the pain in my body, like it really like I feel like it put on like mental blockers for me. Like I was like on tunnel vision of like, wow, everything is like misery, everything sucks, I'm constantly in pain, like nothing's making me feel better. So I think I just really relate to people with just like wanting to feel better, like physically and emotionally.
Franny, that's always something I think is really powerful is that component that really limits a lot of people's ability to positively impact others' lives is empathy, right? The ability to understand to some degree the situation the other person's in. And, I think it's great that you feel so comfortable to share that that's part of your journey. And, I guess the question I have is even as a professional, how important is it to be transparent? Because we're not at 100 every day and every night. A lot of times the play comes with the cost, this exploration, this experimentation. And
You
how,
guys don't play at all.
oh, what are you talking about? I'm going to post a picture of me and Franny hanging out literally after this. uh, we're always playing. But, even now, there's been times, let me just go back. One of the first times I got to hang with you, you were modeling in big production that I was lucky enough to coach in the On at Six bodyweight program. And you're kind of transitioning into a more prolific coaching role. And we modified some of the drills because your shoulder was still a little wonky at the time. And it was
It's been a
something
while.
Yeah, and we had talked about it is like, hey, no, you don't have to act like your shoulder's 100%. To be honest, the people watching need to know that even y'all that are killing it on stage and in front of them, that you're human and that you can relate, that they can relate to you and you can relate to them wherever they're at. And that as a coach, my job or your job or other coach is to build a bridge from wherever they are to wherever they want to be. So, you know, with all the play and all the joy, sometimes aches and pains still pop up, right?
Absolutely. And I try to be like really cognizant and like really transparent, like with my own journey. Like I'm in a place with my clients that like it's aspirational for them. Like I might be like 5 years past like their last pain point or something, but I tell them I still get hurt. Maybe not bending over and grabbing a piece of paper. Like that's the level we want to get past. But like I might be pushing my deadlifts and doing really bad programming because I'm also human.
I think we can all get attached to, you said, like, to performance, right? And sometimes, for me, one of the things that, like, I'm the opposite of you. Like, I have to do tons of mobility training to stay together because I can basically pick up a truck if I needed to without any training cold because I'm just really dense and really that's kind of where the opposite ends of the
Dense.
spectrum there too. And so but but we're gonna find that we're gonna want to lean into our strengths too, right? So like sometimes I'll pick up heavier and heavier stuff, not that I need to, but it just feels good to lean into your strengths. And it's okay to sometimes do that for a period of time, but you have to have checks and balances. How do you find, what is your check and balance for you as you play, as you explore, as you might be doing heavier stuff, as you do really, for me, would be extreme movement stuff? How do you know where your center is?
Ooh, honestly, over the years, I've just gotten so strict on like my regimented programming during the week. So of course I do my daily check-ins and I try to, see how I feel with my body, but like I do 2 strength days a week, 2 mobility days, and then the last day is a conditioning day. So for me in my body, that feels like it's perfect. But then like just speaking like holistic balance, I really am like really big on boundaries. Like I really try to like limit my workouts, limit my work hours. Like I'm the type of person like I like to overextend. So like being really strict on like, all right, like we're not gonna progress our deadlifts this fast for X amount of weeks. That's kind of like the mindset I take into everything. Like I'm not gonna overextend even for my clients that I really like. I'm not gonna put in that extra workout just because I feel good. Like I'm literally like cutting myself off on doing too much. That's my tendency.
Do either of you have a framework for when you have a new client, just Gen Pop Jimmy, they walk in as to whether or not like the thing that they're going to need to focus on is fundamentally strength or fundamentally mobility?
Always go to. I learned this a lot from John too. Like, I think for me, a lot of the assessment, I usually run my clients to just like some movement based stuff. So I try to see like what's their movement capacity, like how well does their brain connect to their body, like what restrictions do they have. But I'm really looking for like stability. Like I think one of my favorite phrases in fitness is like stability is king, stability first. Like there's so many different ones. But I really like stability is king because I think it takes you into the mindset of like even some people that are really strong, they might be like structurally lacking stability, and it might look like a mobility issue, but it might be like a stability issue. But long story short, I try to look at that lens. I try to start with one thing, and that actually says a lot more about the body than you would think, in my perspective, in my experience. I don't know. Everyone's different.
Definitely want to hear John's answer here too.
Oh, I got out a little bit there, but yeah, no, I think mobility and stability are two sides of the same coin. And so, however you look at it, the expression of a lack of stability will result in a lack of ability to own your body in space and then move a particular piece, right? So, that's
Hmm.
what Franny's saying is like, hey, if I ask you to move this body part and everything else moves, there's going to be a problem. And I think that really relates back to the type of demographic that Franny associates to, right? She's a dancer. And so you'll have a lot of dancers and a lot of people that have developed hypermobility where uh, they're they're so able to move through greater ranges of motion than most people that it's almost like a show, right? Like, oh, I want to make it exaggerated. And so then sometimes you're like, wait, can you just keep this right here and then move? Like, what do you mean? And so
Hmm.
whether it's a dancer, a yogi, a gymnast, somebody who's usually has a movement background or just has a bias their body has a bias towards laxity. Bring it back to what I was saying, the opposite end of the spectrum for
Mm-hmm.
me. But those people really require a lot of stability. They need to be, you know, firmly rooted and be able to explore just from a limitation of where you move your center of mass, what you can move under control and progressively load. You know, for a lot of other people, they they need the complete opposite, right? But
Mm-hmm.
it always shows up in a lack of interplay between stability and mobility. And I think the thing for me that I really loved about what Franny said was this boundaries theme, right? And that it isn't necessarily even about training, but how she looks at setting boundaries in her training that cascade into her life and into her business. And like I think that's what it really hit for me what you said, Franny, is because there's a lot of different theories of how we can look at assessment, and that's a big rabbit hole. But I think for me, the thing that really hit home for you for what you said is how important are those boundaries for you to enjoy your daily life as a coach, as a professional, and as most importantly, Francesca. And you know, I think a lot of people say like, well, you said I set those boundaries, and I won't necessarily answer a call or a text outside of my defined time, even for somebody I really might even have the urge to. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think people might confuse that, like, oh, you're not willing to grind. But I know you work hard, and it doesn't, but it's work hard within the confines of these boundaries. How hard is it to maintain those boundaries, and how important is it to you?
Incredibly hard. I think it's harder for me to maintain the boundaries because like I just want to please people. I want to get people the results. And like as a coach, people want to come to you at all hours a day. I have people that want to train at 5 a.m. I have people that want to train at 9 o'clock at night. I can't do both. I'm gonna run myself so thin. And I know most coaches can relate to this. So a lot of times for anybody that's not in the coaching industry, most like any industry, you gotta like start at the bottom. So we're like working up at like 3:30 in the morning, trying to get to like 4:30 opening of the gym so that we could have the first class at 5 and be like alive and ready and have your coffee and be fueled. But that runs you so thin and it's a personality thing. I have coaches that I know that they like that time and they thrive and they go to sleep early and they're functional. I'm not that type of person. So I think, and even my coworkers, when I first started, they would always complain to my manager because they were like, she's an evening person. She's an afternoon, evening person. Like, why are you making her suffer doing these super early shifts? So right now, I clock off my office hour or like my coaching business. It's pretty much run from 8:30 in the morning. I'll do 8, but theoretically like 8 in the morning to like 7 at night. So that's a long time. That's like what, 11 hours of work. Of course, I have a weird cadence, but I felt so bad. One of my favorite clients, like they also have a weird work schedule and they're like, "Oh, could you do 7 a.m.?" And like theoretically I could, but then it would mess up like my routine. It would mess up my sleep routine, my morning routine, my nutrition routine, my decompression, like getting into like my central nervous system. I could get super nerdy about it, but like that's literally my decompression time in the morning so that I can show up as my best self and I'm filling my cup. So that's really how I view it. And especially as somebody that struggled with their health, like I've struggled with like my thyroid, I've had like a traumatic brain injury from like a car crash. So like I've had so many times in my life where I've really had to like figure out like what is it that's gonna like bring me back to health essentially. But like maintaining health is that same concept. Like I'm not gonna maintain my health by doing the bare minimum. Like I need to show up and fill my cup before I can serve others. So that's like really hard for me to have strong boundaries. I give myself hours. That's what I do. I look at the calendar and I'm like, no, it's not applicable.
Another There's like another dimension to coaching at a really high level that I don't hear a lot of people talking about, and it's actually being the athlete that leads from the front. And you're definitely that sort of person. And in order to keep yourself in not just like incredible shape, but like the sort of athletic shape that people aspire towards, which therefore helps you build audience, creates a clear goal for many of the people that I'm sure you work with or that take your online programming. Like that's a tremendous amount of, that's a job in and of itself. For many people, that is their job, right? And for you, it's like just a need to have to be able to do your job. And so if you're a full-time athlete and a full-time coach, like you need some boundaries, you need some decompression routines, and those can be traditionally quote unquote healthy. Those can be non-traditionally quote unquote healthy. It just needs to be whatever gets you right. Yeah, and I think you do an incredible job of that. And that's why I would like this subject matter for you, because I think you can add a ton of value to people who are just like pure grind set. And we talked a
Yeah.
little bit about this difference with Hannah. It's like, yes, it's like people need to understand the middle ground between grinding their fucking ass off and being like, I just need to like take some me time. It's like, well, no, you definitely are going to have to work super hard, which means you're just going to have to be incredibly intentional in the middle. And then it's like, oh, by the way, there's the overlay of trying to figure out how to have joy as you get through this, whether joy through progression in your business or joy through movement or joy through the people that you work with. Because like you're kind of solving for where you're supposed to be in like 5 years, not really in like a year or 6 months or 3 months. And you're not going to do that if you just blow up in a year or 2 years
No.
or 3 years. And that's the hard problem to solve.
I think for me, like when I zoom out and I think about like over grinding and people like really loving like hustle culture, I think I kind of approach it like a little bit from like a spiritual like perspective, like almost like as woo woo as that is. Like when I
Get woo
zoom out
woo.
in my life, like I think most people forget that they're like gonna be grinding and working through most of it. And like we're grinding and working to like get to this goal, but like some people don't make it to that goal. Some people die before that goal. Some people die with a bunch of money in their account. Some people die poor. So like at the end of the day, like not to be morbid, but like this is a short play. Like we're not in this forever. So like for me personally, from like a very spiritual perspective, like I've had so many struggles in my life where like I've lost the purpose of like what is life. Like I've lost the purpose of like wanting to like, like live essentially. So like for me, like having a purpose of life is my number one thing. And like yes, I understand. I get it. I know so many successful people. Their purpose is business. Their purpose is success, but like I just don't identify with that. I identify with joy, like you said. Like a lot of times we put joy on the back burner, but I put joy on the forefront. And I'm like a really big believer that like if I come from a place of authenticity and joy and of being of service, like the universe will provide for me. That's super woo woo. Don't get me wrong. Obviously I need to work and like show up and have my calendar and like work. But like I think it's a big mindset shift for a lot of people. Like, no, I'm not gonna break my back trying to like figure out this marathon of life. Like if I get hit by a car tomorrow walking my dog, like I wanna die happy. Like I don't
True.
wanna die worrying about like, oh my God, this email that I didn't answer. Like that has no interest in me at the end of the day. And I'm super strong, like I said, with the boundaries and work. Like I'm that friend that like I'm trying to clock out early. Like, yes, I like to clock out at 5. Like if I can clock out at 3:45 and get everything done, like that's a no-brainer. So I'm
Like,
really big about my work-life balance.
Well,
to our listeners here, this is coming out of the mouth of somebody that is also working like long days, has been grinding in the industry for years, is an Adidas athlete, one of the most well-known brands in all of wellness, literally of all time. Like it's like this is the mindset of somebody who's been incredibly successful in the space. Like it's not the mindset of a bum, right? This is a component of figuring out how to be a successful coach. And it's extra important now because like the traditional pathways of growing in fitness are breaking down. Like coaches are now entrepreneurs. You are responsible for your own time. People are not just going to shepherd you to success. You didn't take those traditional pathways from what I know about your story. You kind of made your own way. And that's like that's maybe that's worth even actually explaining a little bit of kind of like how you got to where you are, because I think that was more unique then, but now almost like a requirement for people to figure out how to do now. And it requires the mindset that you have for like, I think your mindset is so relatable. Like it's like everybody wants to be able to figure out how to do it the way that you did it, not the way where it's just like banging your head against a brick wall till it breaks. So maybe a question there would be like if you can talk a little bit about that story, kind of your path to building something out of yourself, I think people would find value in it.
Man, I feel like when I think about my journey, it's like an octopus. Like I had like so many caveats, so many different routes, like U-turns, like loop-de-loops. But I think like honestly, like the pinnacle of my career, like right now is a testament. I'm hanging out with two people that I'm genuinely friends with. Yes, we're working, but like I prioritize hanging out in front of work. And I think like similar to like what I said about like work and my lifestyle, like I'm not trying to force inauthentic relationships with other cool, awesome athletes that like we just don't click with. Like, no, I want to have people in my like zone of influence and like in my space that like I'm genuinely friends with. And I think that personally, like if I really zoom out, I think that is really like what made my career feasible. Because like as soon as I worked at a corporate gym or like a personal training small business, and then I worked with them for about a year. But like in that space, I didn't build any long lasting, genuine connections. And it felt very empty. Like I felt like I was like, and it was a long story. Like sometimes personalities don't mix and people have weird intentions. But I was let go of that job because me and my manager we clashed. And then it really felt like, wow, I built all of this. I spent all of this time. I built this like community here at this gym for me not to have any genuine relationship after and just to be like let off and cut. And I get that's how work is and stuff. But like even at my previous corporate job, like I left with a great friendship and we still text to this day. So I felt like that was lacking. So then when I started going forward, like I really wasn't worried about like who can I work for, who can help me get clients, or like who's going to be like a really good person to network with. Like for me, I was just like, if we click and we're genuine, I want to hang out with you more. Like I'm so tired of like forced, inauthentic things, especially as a trainer. Like sometimes you do get emotionally burnt out. Like it depends, of course, like on your experience and your clientele that you build. But like right now, I'm really focused on personality matches for my clients. Like if we don't have a personality match, we're not going to work together. And I'm in a very fortunate, spoiled place to be. But like once you work with a lot of people that you don't click with, like you really start realizing like your energy kind of gets sucked and you're just not happy. Like I'm happy with people that make me happy. I want to make you happy. If I can make you happy when you're back squatting and I can make you laugh, and same thing with my coworkers. Like if I could have coworkers that are cool and we can genuinely work out together, like that's only going to bring joy to everybody. But long story short, genuine friendships. I think that's how I built my career, honestly.
I think you said something that's really important. We talked about boundaries, and that boundaries component extends right here, like in a macro way. Like this is sacred space. Whatever circle you have around you is sacred space. So as a coach, your job is to create sacred space between you and your client so that they feel safe, they can hear what you're saying and accept, guidance in a way that resonates well with them. But most coaches, most people that are pursuing growth in business or on the grind, they don't think like this. They don't think I'm interviewing my client. I'm interviewing the people I do business with. I'm with you, Franny. I do business with people I want to spend time with because I have very little extra time. In addition to running a business, I have kids. They require a lot of time and energy. So the time and energy I spend in my business, I want to spend with people that I genuinely love and appreciate. By the way, hey guys, how y'all doing? So, but that is so wonderful to hear how much you prioritize that, and that it's been a consistent theme. This has been something I was kind of mentioning earlier. That theme, it resonates not only like when I got to see you in New York at Kenny's event, Strong New York, just the vibe you had with the other people from Adidas, like the relationships you built within the brand. And then when I go and visit, because I don't live in Austin anymore, when I go and visit Austin, I see both online and in person you and other female coaches that really just have built a really strong tribe, and like there's just genuine love and appreciation. Yeah, you get after it, you train together, you talk shop, you do all these things, but you're living what you're speaking right now, and in every level of your life and business, that's been a consistent theme. So I just want to say that, like, applaud you for that. Like how enriching is it to work with a brand that you resonate with that at that level, and how enriching is it to have that network of support locally with other coaches that resonate.
Honestly, sometimes like I have a moment and like I'll like zoom back to like my first year training and I'm just like, this is insane. Absolutely insane. I'm so grateful and I'm really big on gratitude. Yeah, it's insane. And honestly, going back to the Adidas team, they are so freaking cool. At that event, those cocktails were so good. Those girls had me yapping so much. Those girls are so funny. But no, I think honestly, I feel like I've built like a beautiful, of course I have like my brotherhood and my friends, but like honestly from the female perspective of the industry, like we have a beautiful sisterhood. Like And it's just like honestly incredible. That's all I gotta say about it. Like it leaves me at a like loss of words sometimes thinking about like how beautiful my community is. And even going to like one of my friends, she's like a pull-up specialist. Every Wednesday we work out together. It's been 3 years now. And I like lured her into Austin. So like that's how palpable our community is. She's like, I love Austin. It's amazing here. And I'm like, I kept showing her like different things about Austin. And I'm like, don't you want to move here? So she's been here for 3 years now.
It's another example of you following like your heart sounds like such a cliche. I mean, like
But it's true.
you're like, I want to be friends with that person. So I'm going to spend time with them. I'm going to work with
Hmm.
them because we're in the same line of work anyways, and we have like mutual interests. So you're self-selecting for people that you're probably going to like have at least a chance to like. And then you're just like chilling, you're being cool, and people or they gravitate towards that. And then like you look back on it and you're like, holy shit, I became like a well-known fitness influencer. I get to do what I love every day, and the people around me are also doing that, and we're lifting each other up, and it feels good, and we're adding value. Like that's that is so cool. And it's like I I don't know. Is reflecting on that and feeling gratitude towards that what kind of like pulls you through the long days?
Absolutely. And I think like even like you said, I've had friends that like sometimes we just start off as friendship and then they like also get into the fitness industry. So I think like just really being able to like share each other's experience and like see each other grow together. I think on days where like I'm not doing well and like the gratitude's not working for me, like seeing my peers like succeed and knowing that like they also have struggles and like knowing that like those struggles are like very deep and sometimes like they're almost like life changing. You know, sometimes like we're in a one place of our life and like the only way that we're gonna make it out of this is like if we move to another place and start over fresh and like do a whole new career and like rebrand, you know. So like a lot of us go through very hard things, but I think seeing my peers like do well and be happy, like when the woo woo stuff isn't working for me, like that's what makes me like say yes. Like I need to keep going, I need to show up, like all of us showing up together is only what's gonna make like other people better. Yeah, I'm really big about doing. I'm a big doer. I'm a big shower upper. I'm not like, yeah, I like to yap and talk, but like with my clients, sometimes I'm like, think less, do more. Think less, do more.
There's another thing here that we haven't gotten into at all, but it dawned on me a little bit ago that I should bring up because I think it's unique and it's powerful. I'm gonna reference a conversation that's like funny, not funny. But the second time you and I talked, we talked like a year and a half ago, right? About Somble as a platform, and we weren't really ready for you yet. I think is probably the best way to look at it. Then like a year goes by, and we have another conversation, but it's kind of like wrapped up in this broader conversation. You're like, okay, maybe like I'm interested in using Somble now, but you knew that we were kind of like putting together a team of coaches who were sort of like coach investors who were helping us build the thing. And it was really funny because we were like 2 minutes into that phone call. You're like, yeah, so I think I want to use the Samba platform. I think I want to help build the Samba platform, but like it's all dudes. Are you guys thinking about that? Like, are you doing anything about that? And I was like, I know it's all dudes. I don't want it to be all dudes. I'm sorry, it's all dudes. I don't. It was an accident. We're trying. And as you know now, and we're not going to name her because it's not public yet, but it's no longer all dudes. There's a not dude coming on board. Now we have Francheska on the team as well. And I'm glad that that's changed. But it's like, it's the most like generic example of like being a catalyst for change. It's not like we went out and hired women because you were like it's all dudes, but it was like it got brought up in. I was like, I know we're a startup and it's like you just work with like whoever you can, but like if you're just broing out all the time, like you're gonna push women away and you're gonna bring dudes in, and you can't do that. Like you have to just be like a normal, welcoming person to other people. And the conversation we had was really productive because I was like, let's get out of the startup mindset of work with whoever you can, and let's like be really conscientious about who we're working with and build a really amazing and diverse team. And that was just you being upfront. So that was a very long-winded way of framing the question of like, where did you learn, or really like how did you learn to be so forward, but also deliver the message in such a respectful way such that it can actually impact the person positive?
That is a hard one. Honestly, I feel like some of it, I joke about this a lot with my mom. I think some of it is just innate personality. Like I've always been a little bit more of on the blunt side, and I think I get that from my dad. Like I get my sarcasm and my humor and my bluntness from my dad, like that whole and my persistence, because that's part of being the coach. So like all of those personality traits that have a lot of duality to them, because persistence could be good and it could be bad. Same thing with sarcasm. It could be good, it could be bad, and bluntness. So I think I was really blunt when I was young and I wasn't polite. So I think I had to learn how to be polite. Is the
Yeah.
best answer.
I mean, it's so funny, right? It's like any innate personality trait that you have, which is really like not innate, but it's just like a gift from your parents that you maybe didn't
Mm-hmm.
even want. But it's like you get that, right? You receive the gift, and then you're like, now I have to do something with this. Like I have to figure out how to use this. And there's the like non-self-aware version of that where you're like, it's just who I am. There's nothing that can be done. And then there's the like, hey, I actually have agency over myself, and you're like, maybe I should soften these edges and sharpen those. You've done a really amazing job of that, and that's how like unique personalities get built. So yeah, I commend you for your ability to not be like rude or mean, but instead just like state maybe the obvious things that people aren't doing. And as an entrepreneur, you have to advocate for yourself. So and that's how you advocate for yourself, right? You speak truth to people in a way that they're going to actually respond to. It's one of the hardest things one can possibly do because you have to take yourself out of yourself and empathize with the person you're communicating with. You're both incredible at it. You're both incredible communicators.
And to add on to it, for anybody that struggles, like they have something that they want to say, but they don't know how to say it, I think for me, the first step I try to come to, it's like, don't project on this person. Like, try to
Oh
like
yeah.
approach it from the perspective of like, I'm just trying to communicate. You're trying to communicate. So I feel like it really sets the tone a little differently if you're not coming at it like anxiously or like anticipating that person's going to be nasty or like not take it well. I think like if you honestly start it in your mind, like, I just want to communicate. I just want them to like try to understand me. I feel like it really sets like a vibration for that communication, honestly. And then I think it makes you more open to being like, hey, I'm sorry, I don't want this to come across the wrong way, but it's super important if you're trying to like be blunt and polite.
You know, Franny, I think the energy, like this whole overarching theme of joy, right? It can seem childlike, right? Because we've been conditioned to lose a touch with any sense of joy and sacrifice that in pursuit of grind set that Dom speaks to, right? Like it, objective, measurable, but life is subjective. Like if you ask me how I'm feeling, I'm not telling you like I made $5,000 today. I don't know. I could make $10,000 today and feel shitty, or I can make no money today and feel great. And so when you bring that kind of, and then just even on the, you're like, you like you always have this joyous kind of playfulness to your presentation of self, and then you kind of have this like, hmm, let me ask throw this at you real quick, but I
Yeah, a
think
dose of like heavy maturity right behind it. It's pretty
you're like,
awesome.
whoa, I didn't know where'd that come from.
Yeah, that's a cool one-two punch.
But it's great because when you frame it, it's kind of like being a coach. Praise, correct. Hey, you're doing really good. I just really want you to focus on this one little thing, and it'll be even better. I'm going to come back and check on you. Hey, that's great. Look, I'm going to come back and check on you in a few reps. So you like bring this really joyous energy. There's a lack of judgment. There's genuine curiosity, and those are things that I think joy, lack of judgment, genuine curiosity, or genuine curiosity without a lack of judgment. Like if you tap into those things, you're infectious in a positive way to everybody and everything around you. You're an amplifier of positivity, even in environments where things are hard, because you're like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the answer is, but have you guys thought about this? And then you're just like, let them process. And I think that's what, when I talked to Dom about that conversation, that was genuinely what I got from that. And it's what I see in you all the time. And I think it's a lost skill, not only as coaches, but just the average human really doesn't get to experience that very often. So it's
Mm-hmm.
super empowering. As coaches, oftentimes we're like the only person in that person's day who genuinely asks and listens. So if you could do it the way that you do it, I think it makes for a really enriching experience because you're just letting that person have their space,
Yeah.
you know.
And I think if I could add one more thing too about like just connecting with people and like how to show up better, even when I'm having rough days and like sometimes people show up in ways that like irk you or like affect your energy. Just remember everybody's doing their best. Even the people that are struggling, even the person that's giving you attitude in the grocery line, like people are doing their best and people have their own struggles. Like if you show up your best, you might be able to like inspire somebody to like feel a little better, maybe like take a little edge off their shoulder, maybe be like, wow, maybe like maybe the grocery line's not that serious. Maybe this isn't like a life or death situation.
Like, imagine if you entered into every conversation, like successfully not projecting your own bullshit on everybody else around you. That's like you've attained nirvana. You're a monk. If you can do that consistently, that's like my dream. John had to hear that. John, no, I full spazzed like last week. I pissed off Ian. I probably pissed off John too. Just trying to communicate. Like I was like, I don't know how to. It's so hard to communicate and not project. And even if you're trying to do that, it's still hard because you have all these blind spots. And it's just, I guess, lived experience where you start to see those blind spots a little bit more clearly. And coaching is such an amazing training ground for that because you're constantly trying to, you're, 6 times a day, you're motivating somebody and having to hit a whole bunch of different checkbox per person to try to motivate them. Like, might as well let that turn you into a good person while you're at it, which I think you've certainly done. It's pretty cool.
Well, funny enough, Dom, I used to want to be a monk when I was a kid, so it makes a lot of sense.
You're like planting my flag on that comment about not projecting is the most profound thing that's been said on this entire, at least it resonates the hardest with me. It has a high degree of relevance. So it's cool. It's very,
So
very
wait,
cool.
Franny wanted to be a monk. I wanted to be a ninja. Still want to be a ninja. But
You are a
You,
ninja.
you, yeah, dude, you're
Dom, what about you? Let's go full LARPing mode right here. Right? We got a monk, a ninja. What's the third person of the party today?
well. This is going to make absolutely no sense, but I do recall spending like most of my childhood being like, I'd like to be a zebra. And finally, they were like, "You can't be a zebra, dude. It's not. This is not a career path. It doesn't
So
actually make sense."
you want to blend in to your natural predators, but to people that are not your predators, you stand out. Is that what you want? Like,
I hadn't made it. I hadn't made it that far. Again, you win on the level of depth, but I quickly transitioned into being like the world's largest fantasy nerd. So it's like it's. I think my I was meant to be an innkeeper at an old tavern. That's actually the current dream still. We got to make Samba work to buy the inn.
I'll dance on the tables at the tavern, so we'll have a whole
You
setup.
yeah. There's a word for that I'm not going to say on this episode. It's a tavern blank, but
Gladly. Now that everyone spent 40 minutes with me, I'm
that's what I'm saying. We had a this would be a fun crew to do like we're not talking business. Everybody take their favorite form of imbibing. Let's do an episode. The coaches are actually chill episode of the modern coach. That would be good.
In due time. In due time. You know.
Anytime. This is only season 1, baby.
coming up
All right,
2020.
yo, exactly, dude. All right, we're overtime. You rock. I love talking to you. I love talking to both
Aw,
of you.
I love
But
you guys.
this is a great crew. I had
Big
fun on
group
this
hug.
one. Yeah, bring it in. Let's
Yeah.
go. Let's go. Any last words, Francesca?
I'm happy. Just do your best. Don't project onto people. Every day is a new day to reinvent yourself.
Bang. All right. One love. We're hanging up.
Yay. I love you guys.